Hey guys, welcome to this webinar on fire damage properties. Why it's such a great business. If you are a fire restoration professional or a real estate person looking for a niche, if you already know this, obviously I don't know why you guys are watching this, but if you are new to it or if you are familiar with fire damage properties and want to know how to better target fire damage property incidents, instead of like trying to reach out, do all this search marketing and referrals and stuff like that, this is a webinar for you. So let's get started. Where's my controls? Sorry about that. My name is Taewoo. I go by Tom. If I've emailed you through firedamageproperties.com email. So actually, I am a data scientist by day, AI engineer by night. I make stuff that basically, let the machines do all the thinking for you. So I know lots about data. This is how firedamageproperties.com kind of came to exist. So I'm actually I do a lot of technical stuff, but at nighttime I do real estate investing sort of on a passive, limited time basis. So my claim to fame in the real estate was that I don't know if you guys know, but in real estate in the early 2000s, there was sort of a boom, right? And so I used to flip homes in Philadelphia, West Philadelphia to be exact. I don't know if you guys ever watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's kind of an old show, but he talks about West Philly, and it was kind of a rough neighborhood back then. I'm not sure now because I haven't been there in a while, but I used to flip homes back in the day. So anyway, after that was kind of done, and I thought, I was at the sort of the peak of the market. Actually, I was kind of off by 3 years, but I went to do Silicon Valley stuff, doing an advertising space. We did okay. We grew from like just me to 45 people. Learned lots about business from there. So I used to contribute regularly to internet article, thought-based, knowledge-based type stuff. So I got covered on Wall Street Journal, Yahoo Small Business Advisors, and Amazon, and all these other tech stuff, but sort of not relevant here. So I won't mention that. So anyway, before I go on, let me make a little disclaimer. So this is about fire damage properties and targeting them. So I think a lot of times people think that this is about, sort of making money off of people's needs when they're when they're down. So it's not about that, right? I mean, if you think providing a service that people need is somehow immoral, bad, unethical thing, then I guess this is really not for you. This is not about that. It's about having a business that provides people's needs, right? I mean, when people have property fires, right? Like they live in a home and the property goes up in flames. I mean, it is a very disturbing event in your life, and you definitely need help, right? You can't clean up all this crap yourself. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of technical stuff that goes in, a lot of expertise. So these fire restoration guys / real estate people, they actually provide like a very needed service, right? I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to a fire damaged property like in the middle of nowhere. The reason why they can't fix it because, nobody's there to fix it. So it's not about taking advantage of people when they're down. So it's about like, how to improve marketing, how to improve your business so that you can actually help more people. So it's a good thing. So just make a disclaimer before I go on. And the second thing is I'm a messenger, so don't shoot the messenger. So I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the legal ins and outs of insurance, what public adjusters do. I'm not any of that stuff. And I don't claim to be a fire restoration guru. In fact, I think I've mentioned before, I'm a sort of a limited, sort of passive real estate investor / data guy. And I actually used to partner with a guy who used to do fire damage properties. So we split ways, but this idea kind of came to existence because of what he did, and I was able to help with that. So anyway, with that disclaimer, let me go on. So fire damage properties, it's a business niche, but it's one of those niches that people don't really know. I think it's because it doesn't really happen that often. But it's a business, and it's a business niche, and it's a huge business niche. It's fires happen every day. I don't know if you guys know. This is stats from NFPA, National Fire Protection Association. There's about 1.5 million fires every year. Of course, not every one of them is property related. On the average, about a fourth of that is property structural fires, so about 360,000, which is on the average about 30,000 property fires a month, right? Of course, this is not every state each state has sort of different distribution of fires because California there's more people, New York there's more people, somewhere in Midwest obviously there's less people, so there's less fires. So the amount of damage that gets done to the economy is about $6.7 billion directly from fire damage. So on the average, home fires cost anywhere between 12,000. I've seen it as high as 200,000, but I would say like 12 to 25K is sort of like your sort of sweet spot. Now you gotta think like that money's being paid, and somebody's on the receiving end of that payment. Well, those people tend to be fire restoration people, obviously, people who are gonna fix homes. But there's actually a lot of properties being bought and sold because, well, people don't necessarily want to fix, damaged homes. They just want to move on, right? And they want to sell it out and give it to another guy, so let him deal with it, right? Now, just letting you know that this is a huge transaction dollar amount, and somebody's on the receiving end of that. And of course, this webinar is about targeting these types of people, so you can be the receiving end of that transaction. Property fire is it's a huge motivation to act, right? I mean, if you're a general contractor and if you been to a like a home where you pitch your service or whatever, they ask you to pitch, you pitch and they're kind of thinking about it and they kind of want it, or you're a real estate investor and you're trying to look for sellers to buy properties from, you make your pitch or do your thing or whatever, and they kind of think about it and they're like, well, there's really no motivation to do anything because, well, you can have like an old kitchen. I mean, you can still cook and live your life. But if you have a fire, now that is a different thing, right? Because if you had a property fire, you have to act. I don't know if you know this. This is according to some psychology sort of article I read on the web. This was from psychology.com or something like that. So more than 7 in 10 Americans fear homelessness, and actually, fear of homelessness is actually greater than fear of death for Americans. Oh, by the way, this webinar is directly targeted towards people in U.S., but Canada applies as well, and UK. The other parts of the world, I'm not too certain, so don't quote me on this stuff. And people don't want to go homeless. It's scary, right? I mean, being left on the street is one of the biggest fears that people have. Of course, you are emotionally attached to where you grow up, right? Where you live. Obviously, that's where they say the home is where the heart is, right? And of course, homes tend to be the biggest single financial investment that people ever make. So when it goes up in flames, guess what? You're gonna act. And here's the second, probably the bigger reason for them acting is that most homeowners have fire insurance covered as part of their protection plan, obviously, right? I mean, if you're spending 30 years of your life to pay off a mortgage, you're going to want to protect it, obviously. And of course, insurance comes with fire protection. And if you look at the clauses, it all varies from state to state, county to county, ordinance to ordinance, city ordinance. There's an insurance time bomb. So like when people have to claim their insurance, they have to act within a certain amount of time for them to get money, obviously. So they have to act within days or if not weeks of that fire happening. So the decisions are made relatively quick, which is why property fire damages are relatively easy to close because, well, they have to do something. Otherwise, they're not going to get the check, right? So there's no this concept of tire kicking because they have to act. Otherwise, they're not going to get that nice fat check from the insurance company to fix that stuff. That's why most decisions with service providers are also made within weeks of the fire or days. Now, some facts about fire damaged properties. It's a huge industry. Like restoration in general is a $210 billion restoration industry. This is not just property fires. This could be like, storm, like water damage, earthquake, what do you call those? Wildfires, anything. It's huge. Now, average cost to fix homes is on the average $12,000. But here's the thing, like different websites, different even restoration companies, they have sort of different average, but they kind of agree that it's anywhere between 12K to 16K on the average, but it could be as high as like 100K plus in sort of more affluent areas, depending on the extent of the damage. So, it's a big ticket item. And of course, the biggest part of fire damage is actually water. Obviously when you have a fire at a house, fire department comes and they're gonna just spray a ton of water, right? I mean, like, hundreds of thousands of gallons of water, right? So, and I don't know if you know, water damage is huge. It's you don't really see it, but it accrues over time, and it can cause all kinds of crazy stuff. So the water damage is a pretty significant ticket item, a couple $1,000s to fix. And of course, with water comes mold, like all this mold and fungus that grows as a result of all this moisture, and you got to get rid of that because mold, stuff that gets released into the air is actually toxin, and people can get sick from it. So mold removal is actually a couple more $1,000s. So as you can imagine, this stuff racks up pretty fast. Now the fire restoration process, I'm not going to go over too much in depth, but at every point of the step is basically a way for a service provider or a real estate expert to sort of sneak in and kind of make their pitch, right? So the first is obviously the emergency contact, where the fire department comes and basically knocks out the fire. The second part is inspection and fire damage assessment. This is when people actually go, and this is where fire restoration companies come and they assess the damage, like fire, smoke, soot, right, all kinds of stuff, and they develop a plan for that. And the next part is a board up phase, also roof tarp. So I'm sure you guys seen houses with fires. They put up boards and they put up fences and stuff like that. Part of the reason being that not all of the fire, usually not the house doesn't, the whole thing doesn't go up in flames. It's usually just a part of it. So you have to secure whatever's in the house, right? And you don't want thieves coming in and stealing your stuff. So that's what they do next. And the next part is the water removal and drying. Obviously, if there's water present, and you want to get rid of all the residual water, right? Like they use dehumidifiers, they use air removers to get rid of all the remaining water and finish up the drying process. The next step is smoke and soot sort of elimination. You don't want to have a house that's like full of this black stuff on the wall and still stinking like smoke, right? The next part is the cleaning and sanitizing. This is kind of self-explanatory. And the restoration part, this is where the most labor-intensive stuff is, right? They replace like drywall, they have to paint, they have to install new carpet. They might have to repair parts of the house like beams and all kinds of support structures and things like that. So it's pretty intensive. So it can get pretty expensive. And here's the thing: not all steps of the restoration process is done by one company. They sometimes do, but usually some companies do this part, some companies do that part, just because it's really labor intensive, and each step of the process is sort of knowledge intensive. Like you have to know how to work these things, and not all companies have that all-inclusive restoration sort of expertise. So they refer out and they look for stuff, and a lot of times homeowners are actually looking for this stuff. Oh, and I don't know if you guys know, this stuff isn't determined by insurance company. I think what happens, like back in the day, insurance companies were doing that. Like they would actually say, hey, for this you need to contact this person, that person. But what they realized was this was sort of it can get sort of corrupt. So it can actually lead to some corruption, right? Like kind of like kickbacks, and you can do all kinds of like dirty things, basically jacking up the insurance rate for the homeowner. So what they do now, in a lot of, this is not everywhere I believe, but a lot of counties, states, they basically let the homeowner decide what to do. Basically, this is why if you are a fire restoration expert, public adjuster, or a real estate person looking for fire damaged property to buy and sell, flip, whatever, you can actually do direct marketing. This is one of the reasons why I guess we exist. So who benefits? Obviously, this is a no-brainer. Fire restoration people, right? Depends on damage, like what they do, what can they not do. Like some guys want to do this because it's profitable. Some guys don't do that because they don't have the manpower. So there's multiple phases, right? So fire restoration guys, water damage, smoke damage, guys who do like pack out and storage. Pack out and storage, that's like when you want to basically work on your house and people need to store their stuff somewhere else, right? Or they need to secure it. Dehumidification, mold, cleanup, and of course the contractor guys come in last and when they fix the house. Now that's like a whole topic in itself, but depending on the extent of the damage, you need more people or less people, and some phases cost more and some less. But they're all usually in the thousands of dollars. And the second part, actually, people don't really know is that there's a lot of real estate people that want to buy these damaged homes because the amount of discount you can get on these properties can be pretty extreme. Like I've seen houses get sold for like under half their value, even though the damage was a little kind of not much, because the emotional aspect of this, that when people get their house on fire, well, it's nerve-wracking, right? It's not like there's actually like sites that are dedicated to just explaining how to think about property fires and what you should do and how you should take care of your family. I mean, if you're a little kid and you see like your little room go up in fire, I mean, that's psychologically traumatizing event. A lot of investor type guys, they basically what they do is a couple of ways that they profit off of this is that they act as either one, like if the homeowner doesn't want to sell, they act as consultant. They basically mark up the services that they go out and get, right? Because they know the steps. They basically, whatever. Let's say like it's the cost to fix the house is like 15K. They just mark it up to like 25K and keep the difference, and they just basically act as a manager of the process. Or this is probably the more obvious ones. They actually just buy it, they repair it, and they fix and they sell it. Or what they do is they buy it and then they assign a contract, or they get a referral fee from other guys who are involved in the process. So there's really multiple exit strategies. And of course, public adjusters. I don't know if you guys know what those are. They're basically people that come in, they fight for the homeowner to get the most amount of insurance damage claims from the insurance company. So if you guys don't think that, if you just, I don't know if you can see it on the bottom right, if you just Google property fire claims procedure, you'll notice all these ads. If you look on the bottom right, I don't know, hold on, let me see if you can see. Oh, sorry, my face is covering there. My apologies. Public adjusters are actually businesses that, they're private businesses that will act on the homeowner's behalf to get as much money as possible. And these are Google ads. Let me see if I can actually show you this stuff. 1 second. Property fire procedure. So, sorry, what was I doing? Property fire claims procedure. My apologies. Property fire claims procedure. Oh, it's weird. The ads don't show up now. That is very strange. Anyway, maybe because they're not targeting New Jersey anymore. Anyway, let me see if I can zoom in. I don't know if I can show you this stuff. So let me. Does it show you guys? Yeah. Okay. So these are ads. So these guys are individual businesses that basically work for their home for the homeowners who basically contact them and say, hey, I need to do property fire insurance stuff. And these guys make a ton of money. Well, not a ton of money. Obviously, not as much as the contractor guys, but considering the amount of effort versus the payoff, these guys get paid pretty decent to basically work with adjusters, and the adjusters basically get the check on their behalf. So, so these are another type of guys who benefit from this. Now, so the question is like, how do you target fire damaged properties, right? It's really tough because it's not like this stuff is like, it's like you can just Google it and then they just pop up, right? I mean, you want it real time, obviously, because remember I mentioned that the decisions may get made within days, if not, like 2-3 weeks, right? I mean, who's gonna live in a house that's burned down for a month plus, right? So you need to find it relatively quick. So there are some steps that you can take. Obviously, number one is chase fire trucks, right? Problem is that in a lot of places, it's not all places, but in certain areas or certain ordinances or cities, it's illegal to chase them. And if you do, you can't stay too close. There's all kinds of rules about that. And of course, surprisingly, it's competitive. There's a lot of, I don't know if you guys know, but there's like a whole network of people who chase fires. They're professional fire chasers, basically. But the problem is not that. The problem is like, how do you know that you know they're getting dispatched because specifically for property fires, right? Because you don't know, because I don't know if you know, fire guys are actually the first emergency medical responders as well, because of the distribution of the fires in U.S. is there's just more firefighters than there are sort of medics on a sort of a geospatially distributed basis, which means that there's more firefighters within faster response time distance than most medics. That's why when somebody's like, drunk or they fall on the street, usually fire guys go there first. So obviously they're not responding to a fire. And even if they are acting to a fire, like how do you know that's a property fire, right? You just don't know. It could be like freeway fire. It could be like a gas and water leak. It could be auto fire. It could be like brush fire. I mean, like how do you know, right? So you really don't know if it's for property fire. Now, if you think you're gonna find fire damage property fires by chasing trucks, well, good luck with that. It's gonna be really expensive, time consuming, and very ineffective. Now, there's a smarter way is to basically listen to CB radio. So a lot of emergency responders, fire guys included, still use CB radios to basically talk to each other. So that information is public. However, I don't know if you guys ever listened to one. Here, let me actually show you guys. Let me see. Can I? Yeah, here we go. So this, I'm going to show you. I want to show you how they sound.
Alaska 322. That aircraft was booster aircraft on runway 16 center. His wheels was focused left and right. There we are right now. He's rolling down the runway. All right, I'm not even talking to him. He can't fly out of the cargo area. Which cargo area? One or two? The one that's close to the.
Well, anyway, the reason why I'm showing you this is because, well, it's really hard to understand what they're saying. It's really fuzzy sounding. It's like all crackled, like all kind of funny. And they use jargon a lot. It's like they use code. They use all these kind of weird things, and they sound muffled. I mean, it's really hard. Like unless you're used to it, like it's super impossible. I mean, the reason why I know is because I actually tried myself, right? It's really hard. And what if you're targeting multiple cities, multiple counties? They have different frequencies, and they have different technology. Some use analog, some use digital, some use like entirely different system. But not to mention, are you gonna have 24/7 to listen to this stuff? I mean, even if you hire a virtual assistant in say like India or Philippines or something, you pay him $5 an hour to listen to this nonstop. I mean, how are you gonna? You're gonna pay $3,000 a month. I mean, three that's $5,000 an hour. That's like almost close to $4,000 per month. So it's super complicated. Like, I mean, you think that this is doable? It's not. I mean, there's internet streaming as well too, but it has the same problem. So another way is, well, maybe you can ask a fireman, right? You get to know a local fire guy, and maybe he'll kind of give you the lowdown on where the fires were and stuff like that. Many have tried. Many. Well, I would say real estate people, many have tried. I don't know about fire restoration guys. I don't know what their network relationship with firefighters guys is. But many have tried, but they failed. Part of the reason why is because if they do keep a record of this stuff, they don't really, it's not like, your browser, you point and click and bam, you can print out a list, kind of like that. Not to mention, even if they did that for you, are they going to do it every day? It's not their job. But most importantly, like, they don't really care about like you having this list, right? My partner actually approached a couple of fire departments and have said that many real estate type guys have approached them and asked them about this, and they just don't care. They don't want to help you. Like, they're not really into this whole like firefighter guys aren't necessarily entrepreneurial type, right? They're government employees, so it's not like you're gonna have a ton of luck with these guys. So another one is to network with the guys who are in the industry, right? So people in the fire restoration business, for example, but it's a kind of an old boys network, right? Like, you aren't gonna just kind of knock on the door and all of a sudden you're in the network, right? These guys been in for decades, right? So they're not gonna just let you in and just take all their profit. right? So for example, the guys who are in the first step of the process, for example, guys who assess, do board up and things like that, they're gonna refer out to their guys. Makes sense, right? Because they've been working with each other for a while. So some franchisors, I don't know if you guys know, fire restoration, a lot of them are franchise based. They will kind of help with lead generation, but most of the time the franchisees are left to do their own, deal sourcing. Now, what do you do if you're not part of the crowd and you're new, or you don't want to deal with these guys, or you want to be sort of more independent, right? Like sort of more stable. So these are the old ways, right? So they're slow, time-consuming, ineffective, expensive, soul draining. And so here's a kicker. So the website that we run is firedamageproperties.com. Oh, that's a typo right there. Not Properteers. Firedamageproperties.com. My apologies for that. So we actually use machine learning. This is kind of like AI stuff, like machine actually learns to kind of scour that web, listen to radios, and actually learn what is a property fire and what is not. And also we have network reporters. The good thing about this is that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to monitor the radio 24/7. You don't have to chase fires. Get in your car and actually chase a fire. And by the way, don't do that. I mean, you're gonna get blacklisted, and you don't want to get on the bad side of these guys, right? You don't have to do any networking. So what you do is when you sign up for the service, you basically get real-time daily email notification of all the fires that happened within the past 24 hours within the counties that you are interested in. We do have national coverage. But of course, not all states or not all counties have the same number of fires. Like for example, LA, Dallas, Fort Worth, New York City, the big MSAs basically get a ton of fires. Now, if you're in somewhere in Wyoming, sorry, it's not going to help you that much. And you get basically unlimited sort of fire notification per state subscription. For now, we might consider doing like per fire, but for now, it's probably a better deal. So I suggest if you're going to do it now, because once we start doing that, at least the cost per notification goes up. Right now, in certain states, it's as low as like 70 cents per notification. So it's relatively cheap. The domain, the website URL is firedamageproperties.com. I mean, it's so easy, like anybody can do it. So what happens when you sign up and then you specify the fire damage properties, you basically get email notification like, hey, you got fire in the counties that you're looking for, and this is a screenshot of that. So the benefits, obviously, you get unlimited fire notification. It's relatively easy. It's within 24 hours you get all the notifications. Like I said, time is of the essence for fire damage properties because, well, once they've made their decision, you're kind of sort of screwed, right? We do have multi-state discount available. For example, like corporate buyers who want to do sort of a larger scale stuff with their franchisees. We have bulk data licensing. Oh, I don't have a bullet point here, but we also have aged fire leads as well too. If you're a real estate person looking for aged fire leads, and right now what you get is the address, property address, the date the fire occurred, as well as what happened. So a little text blurb of what was discussed with the emergency responders. But coming soon, we will eventually have homeowner information. Right now, there's not a whole lot of demand for it, but if there is, definitely let me know in the comments that you want it, and we'll get on that. So if you want to know more, if you have any more questions, you just go on to firedamageproperties.com, look for the FAQ, and then it kind of explains everything as well. And if you wanted some stats, you can go to firedamageproperties.com/firestats, or you just click on firestats link on the top. Actually, let me show you right now. If you go to the fire damage stats page, what it shows you is basically what fires occurred in the past 30 days. And a couple of things about this table is that we don't tell you like fires that you can't obviously profit from. Like we don't do brush fires and garbage dump fires and car fires and wildfires and all kinds of fires that basically you're not going to get involved with, obviously. Of course, fires that are just where the emergency responders, they just report just like cross sections, like they're like, oh, Main Street and and I don't know, like MLK Avenue or something like that. We don't report like intersections because you're not gonna know where the fire is, right? Sometimes the fire is so small, like not small, not visible from a street, maybe in the back or something. So we only report on fires that are specific, that have particular address associated with it. It has to be tracked physical address. And number two is that this table, my apologies, but the date and the month are reversed. This software, I don't know, it was developed in I think in Europe or something, and they're used to doing months and date reverse. So so sometimes you'll notice like, hey, you have the fire from the future. Well, it's not from the future. It's the date and month are reversed. So it's day, month, and year, not day, month, and year. So it's kind of reversed. So let's say you're looking for Dallas, right? Dallas County. I'm going to type Dallas. So it tells you how many fires that we have collected in the past 30 days. And you can come down and you can see Dallas, Texas. And it has like paging, so you can see like which date, how many fires there were. You can filter by state. Let's say you're interested in Texas, TX. I don't know if you guys can see. It's really small. My apologies for that. Or you can actually just type it up here. You can use a search box as well up here as well. Yeah, search box on top right. You can use that. Or you can filter by county and state down here. So that is the actual fire stat page. Let me go back here. And that's it. If you have any questions, make sure to hit me up. You can email me at tom@firedamageproperties.com, or if you prefer chat, you can go to Facebook and go to Fire Damage Properties, and you can send us a message and somebody will get back to you. And if you are interested in real-time property fire damage data, you can go to firedamageproperties.com and sign up for a plan. If you are interested in multi-state, and if you want to know if you have any promos going on, definitely let us know and we'll get back to you. And that is it for me this time. So thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.